agreement on, bipartisan agreement, I will support. I hope that the administration would have the same attitude and respect the appropriations process.
Homeland Security border experts told the committee Wednesday what they need. The deadline for those talks is a week from Friday. It's been nearly 2 weeks since the last government shutdown ended. Some federal workers who missed paychecks during it say they're still waiting. Fox's Jill Nadeau's live in Washington.
Thousands of federal workers who had to go weeks without a paycheck are saying they're still waiting for those checks. When the shutdown ended, President Trump promised,
"I will make sure that all employees receive their back pay very quickly."
But the Census Bureau says about 850 employees have yet to get all their back pay. The National Air Traffic Controllers Association says members who worked during the shutdown have not gotten overtime pay they're owed. And a union local president who represents the National Science Federation says about 1,000 workers there are still waiting on between $1,200 and $3,000 each. Jack?
Thanks, Jill. John Dingell, who served in the House of Representatives longer than any other person, is receiving hospice care at his home in Detroit. Dingell served more than 59 years in Congress. He's 92 years old and suffered a heart attack last fall, but he tweeted Wednesday night, "You're not done with me quite yet." A death row inmate in Alabama winning a delay in his scheduled execution Thursday. The federal appeals court granting a stay so they can consider whether the state violated Dominic Ray's civil rights when they denied his request for a Muslim imam to replace the Christian prison chaplain in the death chamber. This is Fox News.
Here at Make-A-Wish, our Wish kids wish for all kinds of things. A lot of them involve traveling to faraway places. On Monday, February 18th from 6 until 10, we'll be holding an airlines mileage drive with me, Ray Gibson, on 93.3 The Point, to help us grant these travel wishes. So if you've got spare airline miles, you can donate them without any transfer fees. Your donation will go a long way, and so will our Wish kids.
There's a reason every day a Guam homeowner is getting a solar system installed by Micronesia Renewable Energy. It's because MRE is the most trusted name in solar. With more solar energy solutions than any other solar company on island, homeowners have a choice to go solar for zero money down or take the path to ownership. Whichever way, it keeps our skies blue and your pockets green. And with the most experienced solar technicians and an energy production guarantee, there are no worries. Call 632-2613 for a free consultation. MRE, the smarter choice.
More turmoil in Virginia state government.
While Virginia Governor Ralph Northam has not publicly commented in days, State Attorney General Mark Herring has admitted to appearing in blackface in 1980 at a college party. The admission led him to step down as a leader of the Democratic Attorneys General Association. Meantime, the woman accusing Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax of sex assault has gone public with her allegation. Vanessa Tyson said it happened at the 2004 Democratic National Convention. Fairfax says the encounter was consensual. If all three Democrats stepped aside, the House Speaker, a Republican, would become governor. Gernal Scott, Fox News.
In Milwaukee,
officers, present home!
a long line of police officers escorting the body of a fallen officer to the city's medical examiner's office. Officer Matthew Rickner shot and killed as he and a group of officers attempted to serve a warrant on a home. A suspect has been arrested in the shooting. Officer Rickner was 17 years behind the badge. A gas explosion in a San Francisco neighborhood, shooting flames into the air for hours Wednesday, burning 5 buildings, sending panicked residents and workers fleeing into the streets. Took utility crews more than 2 hours to shut off the gas that was feeding the fire. Major League Baseball considering some major rule changes.
A designated hitter in the National League, a 3-batter minimum for pitchers, and an expanded 26-man roster. Just some of the dueling proposals between Major League Baseball and the MLB Players Association regarding on-the-field play that came to light on Wednesday. The proposal showing somewhat of a gap between MLB and the Players Union, with owners' meetings set to begin this week. But according to reports, it appears there's some evening out between the parties, and talks may go well regarding a collective bargaining agreement in the future. Also discussed ahead of the 2019 season, a 20-second pitch clock, potential for lowering the mound, as well as a single trade deadline prior to the All-Star break. Matt Napolitano, Fox News.
And I'm Jack Callahan. This is Fox News.
At
At Chili's, our burgers stack up with anyone's. Handcrafted to order, smashed to lock in flavor on a toasted brioche bun. Our burgers are all kinds of perfect. Choose from the Chili's Chili, the Mushroom Swiss, the Ultimate Bacon, or you know what? We dare you to take on the Boss Burger. Loaded with smoked brisket, rib meat, jalapeno cheddar sausage, and bacon. We may have really out-burgered ourselves. Our burgers are more than a handful, served with garlic dill pickles and fries. So hurry in today and enjoy our juicy, melty, yummy, handcrafted creations. Perfection between two buns. Chili's. More life happens here. Family Finance has been serving the people of Guam since 1959, and they'll continue to be there for you in the years to come. Whether you're looking to get a personal loan for that summer vacation or paying off those long overdue bills, Family Finance has got you covered. Apply for a personal loan from $1,000 up to $3,600 by calling Family Finance in Agutya at 475-4545, Upper Tumon at 647-5626, or in Dededo, 633-4473. Family Finance, serving the people of Guam since 1959.
Welcome to Tall Tales with Bob Klitzkie, the only show on talk radio where common sense is a lot more common. Phone lines are now open at 888-TALK. That's 888-8255. And now, The Point proudly brings you Tall Tales with Senator Bob Klitzkie. And now, sitting in for the vacationing Bob Klitzkie, here's Daryl Taggarty.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Welcome to Tall Tales for Thursday, February 7th. Bob Klitzkie returns from vacation in 28 days. That's the countdown. 28 days. I'll be happy to be with you for the next 2 hours. And until Bob gets back here on Tall Tales, weekdays from 4 until 6. Thanks for tuning in so early in the show. We've got folks already commenting on Facebook. Happy to have you with us this early. Certainly welcome to tune in to the radio or go on Facebook and find us there. Got a nice. Well, let me start first with something. I'm going to come back to this every now and then, but there's a quotation from the 2019 State of the Union address I want to bring up because I totally agree with this. Quote, "We must reject the politics of revenge, resistance, and retribution, and embrace the boundless potential of cooperation, compromise, and the common good." I am President Donald J. Trump. I am so totally in agreement with this, and I'm happy to see that quotation pop out from all the things that were said in the State of the Union address. And I think I'm going to just keep that right here next to me, and we'll see how we can amplify that. We do have a Second Amendment story for today, and that's again out of U.S. News and World Report by Casey Lyons, staff writer. California Democrats unite to strengthen gun control laws. Hang with me, you'll understand why I want to read this to you. Democratic California lawmakers joined former U.S. Representative Gabrielle Giffords of Arizona Monday to announce the creation of a gun violence working group. The group, comprised of 16 members of both the State Assembly and State Senate, met with Giffords, who survived a mass shooting in 2011, for a roundtable before they held the press conference. The lawmakers have voiced concern over Washington's lack of response to the nation's growing gun violence and are proposing laws such as new taxes on firearms and monthly limits on gun purchases, according to Courthouse News Service. Quote, "Thoughts and prayers from Washington won't keep our kids safe," Assemblyman Jesse Gabriel said Monday. Quote, "What we need are common sense gun laws that will protect our schools, our families, and our communities." The group is also looking at how to expand violence prevention efforts. Assemblywoman Buffy Wicks said she plans to introduce a bill to form a gun violence prevention program. Giffords, who advocates for stricter gun control laws through her organization Courage to Fight Gun Violence, urged the California lawmakers to pave the way for other state leaders. Quote, "Now is the time to come together," she said at the press conference. Quote, "Be bold, be courageous. The nation is counting on you." Though former Governor Jerry Brown, a Democrat, helped California become a leader in gun control policy, he vetoed a number of bills that lawmakers have started reintroducing this year under Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom, who has promised to, quote, "raise the bar," end quote, on gun control. Assemblyman Phil Ting, for example, has reintroduced a 2018 bill that would expand gun violence restraining orders beyond family members, roommates, and law enforcement. Co-workers and school personnel would be able to ask a court to temporarily take away a person's firearms, the San Francisco Chronicle reported. Opponents of stricter gun control laws say these policies violate America's Second Amendment rights. Quote, "Anything they might consider to be reasonable gun laws has already been done," Firearms Policy Coalition spokesman Craig J. DeLuz told the Los Angeles Times. Quote, "We're at a point where we've gone from reasonable to infringement." And that's a story out of the U.S. News and World Report from February 5th. Casey Lyons, staff writer. California Democrats unite to strengthen gun control laws. You know, there is a point where the pendulum when the pendulum swings, it swings too far. And so I just wanted to bring that out to you today. And so, again, our telephone number here is 888-8255. We'd be very happy to hear from you this afternoon here on Tall Tales. If you got something on your mind. Oh, what happened here? Wow. Okay. I just somehow got off my own page. And I looked down to see who was online with us this afternoon, and I saw a train rushing at me. So, let's see. Joe Cruz, Daryl got his Kung Fu shirt on. And Ken Leon Guerrero says, his actions speak so loud I couldn't hear a word he said on that subject. What? His actions speak so loud I couldn't hear a word he said on that subject. I think that's all he said about that subject. Ken, that's why it jumped out at me. That's why I wanted to point that out. I'm happy to hear him say that. I will quote him every day and hold him to it. I hold both sides to it. You know, there's no reason to have a resistance unless there's something to resist. And it's not like the resistance hasn't been going on for years. And then Ken says, Trump. Ishmael Velez, thumbs up. Yeah. Oh, Jose Martinez says, Daryl Carradine? You know, we all miss that. We all miss that, don't we? We remember those days. I just didn't like the way he aged. It was just it's just so disheartening.
I think that was the only TV show I watched.
You have good taste,
growing
sir.
up on Guam. I think that was the only channel on Guam.
It was.
Day.
Oh, well, you look much too young to remember that. I was remembering 12 O'Clock High and, you know, Peyton Place and, you know, even Woman's World. I used to watch Woman's World in the afternoon. Not, you know, while I was doing homework or whatnot, but I wouldn't watch it so closely, but I thought it was kind of interesting that these women could come on and just wing it, you know, for an afternoon, for an hour, an afternoon on just whatever was going on. And it was fun. And then, you know, later on I got to hang out with some of those very same characters on Woman's World, but they thought I wouldn't remember them. But yeah. And then, let's see, Ken Leo Guerrero says, I would rather Trump led on that subject by example. Yeah, Trump and about 1,000 other politicians, you know, because it really takes two to tango. And it's a syndrome, you know. It's It's not healthy, and we all know it. But there are so many people who are invested in the extremes that the center is up for grabs, and hopefully, you know, the pendulum will swing back around, you know, back towards the center, and we'll enjoy those days. Right now, we're enjoying low unemployment in the States. High unemployment here on Guam. I saw this. Apply now. American Jobs Center, 3rd floor, Bell Tower Plaza, 710 West Marine Drive, Marine Corps Drive, Hagåtña. Freudian slip. 133 carpenters with 2 years experience, 65 cement masons with 2 years experience, 42 electricians with 2 years experience, 35 heavy equipment operators with 2 years experience, 135 reinforcing metal workers with 2 years experience, 24 welders with 2 years experience, 10 sheet metal workers with 2 years experience. You know, maybe the problem is $14.27 an hour, $16.68 an hour for a plumber. I think they get more than that, guys. Federally announced in the Federal Register, prevailing wages. If anybody out there wants to get into a discussion about the role of regulations and onerous regulations passed down by the federal government that affect and distort our local economies in anywhere in the United States, I'd be very happy to bring that discussion forward here on Tall Tales. It's not what we're doing here, but you know, if you want to get into it, let's. I'd love to have you call up and let's mix it up here, right here on the air. In the meantime, let's go to Zami Ikatni. Yeah. We got a couple of good ones here this afternoon. I see the two newspapers are battling for our attention, and I love it when they give us a good old college try. But I'm going to have an opinion on this, and that's, yeah, can you tell I've had a cup of coffee this afternoon? Yeah, I plan on staying up late tonight. Let's see, Guam Daily Post. Let's start with the Post. Release of war reparations checks should take heightened priority. That's the Guam Daily Post editorial for today. Now we know. Guamanians who suffered atrocities during the Japanese occupation of the island in World War II are not likely to get their reparations checks anytime soon. Regardless of whose fault or oversight this falls on, the focus should now be on a unified effort from Guam elected officials, including senators, the governor, and Guam's delegate to the United States Congress, on a quick resolution to free up these war reparations checks from a bureaucratic tangle. In June 2018, nearly 3,000 of our war survivors or their beneficiaries beat the deadline to file their claims with the Foreign Claims Settlement Commission, which operates as part of the U.S. Justice Department. At least 250 of the first war reparations claimants have been approved for payments for months, but they still haven't received their checks. Delegate Michael St. Nicholas said that the problem lies in the lack of language in the war reparations law that authorizes the U.S. Treasury to cut the checks for each claimant whose case has been approved for payment. This problem was known in May 2018, way before his watch, but was never made public, he said. The Guam Daily Post has been trying to reach former Guam delegate Madeline Bordallo to get her side of this issue, but we've had no luck as of press time. Governor Lou Leon Guerrero is trying to find a path for the early release of the checks via a letter to the U.S. Treasury Department. St. Nicholas is working on a congressional resolution, but at the rate Congress moves to correct language and law, this could take months, if not more than a year. Guam senators should be doing what they're known for, sending letters and writing resolutions for the speedy release of these war reparations. This should take priority over the trivial issues they get mired in sometimes. It's a race against time for many of these war survivors. They're aging. They're not going to be around much longer. Everyone's focus should be on getting these checks to them before it's too late. You know, this sentiment, it should be timely, right? This is today's news, right? But this issue has been going on for how many years? How many years? The number of claimants, 250. It used to be, 10 years ago it was 2,500. 10 years before that it was like, 12,000, something like that. I mean, and so much of this is symbolic. And we are the ones that have to pay it out. Right? The government of Guam, the people of Guam. But we are because the deal was use the Section 30 monies too. So it's money going to Guam anyway, into the government of Guam. And the compromise was, let's have the feds pay it out from the money that's coming to us anyway. Now that is a proximate cause for the loss of her seat. And, if I may say so, there's lots of people reading laws, federal laws, and tracking this issue. The ones who are responsible for it, who are paid to do this, in her office and in the Calvo administration. Somebody should have picked up on it. It's not up to the senators down in the Ganya to do this. They can stand there and wring their hands and commiserate with the 250, and that's straight out politics, it's just campaign time. But, yes, there are possible ways of shaking that money loose. I proposed one yesterday. Just ask the Treasury Department to not pull the money out of the Section 30 money. Just give a whole bunch of the money over to the government of Guam and let the government of Guam disperse it. Guam's a federal agency anyway. You just deputize them. Say, yeah, you're authorized to be the dispersing agency for us. We'll allow you to do that. And that can be done administratively. The governor is approaching the Department of Interior. Maybe the Department of Interior can say, yeah, we'll disperse money out of our funds that we have for the territories, and we'll ask Treasury for a ruling to reimburse us, something like that. There's all kinds of things. But it's not a bureaucratic tangle. It's law. It's the black and white of the law. If the appropriation, there was no way to appropriate because we didn't have the number of claimants. We didn't have the original law doesn't authorize the appropriation because it only authorizes the process to determine who is eligible and the process of releasing the funds. But nobody went back and said, these federal employees, in order to move on this topic, need specific authorization to cut these specific amounts. That's an appropriation. The authorization was there, yes, but for that amount. So what was the authority to reserve the amount and to put it into a fund? It may be they can go back and administratively transfer that authority to disperse, since it's already authorized to be released. Just saying, it's put enough heads together, we'll probably come up with a solution. There's an article today's paper about a fellow who was working on the D.C. end to make sure that these claims had been processed properly, and is a consultant, lobbyist, attorney for the claimants, advocate for the claimants, before the claims commission. And he's like, yeah, you know, there's ways to get around this. Just got to push the right buttons. Now, this is where this whole brouhaha between Michael St. Nicholas and everybody else, he's, you know, he can't go to the executive branch and demand things get done. The governor can, and her representative, or her staff officer, Madeline Berdalio, can. And if there's somebody in town over there, they don't need to fly out there. They're flying out there anyway, but if there's already somebody in town, they could be brainstorming this. And yes, I know Delegate St. Nicholas has done his duty to put in the right language, and now he has to wait, and he has to actually be pushing that thing in the pack. In the pack of all the other things that need to be done. Well, that's the release of war reparations checks should take heightened priority. The Guam Daily Post editorial. And we got a phone call, and when we come back from the phone call, we will start the Pacific Daily News editorial for today. But let's go to line 1 first. Hey there, line 1. Welcome to Tall Tales. Hi, who's this?
This is Kellis.
Hi, Kellis.
I thought that Madeline can't do anything to, interact with any of the offices, etc., for 1 year after she lost her seat.
Only federal legislative branch. She can appear before the courts. She can appear.
She can interact with the executive, but she can't do the federal.
Legislative, yes.
Okay. See, I didn't know that. I thought she was supposed to keep away from basically all of D.C. I was like, that's why I couldn't understand why she was put in that position.
No, I mean, if it was left up to Delegate St. Nicholas, yes, she would be exiled from the district.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the one another comment that I wanted to say that I thought it was very not nice is that the Section 30 money is our money.
Yes.
And then so we now the people of Guam are paying the survivors.
Yes.
And I think this is something that needs to be, because everyone's saying, oh, well, we're getting this money from the federal government. Technically, yes, but it's our money.
Well, Delegate Berdalio brought this up at the time when the bill was passed. Right. She said, we're going to see if we can find another fund to pay this. But somehow... I don't understand
how it came to Section 30 money in the first place.
That was the way to get... That was a compromise that allowed the original authorization to be passed.
I think it's a bad compromise.
It was, but otherwise there would have been no movement at all, and we wouldn't be talking about trying to untangle the bureaucracy.
True.
And so, but I think that's where the ball was dropped, and I'm sure that Madeline's big enough to admit to it. But the point really is, how do we get past it? And the key may be, since it's Section 30 monies anyway coming to Guam, never mind diverting them back into a federal office to disburse.
I heard that. I thought that was a great idea.
I don't know who else is thinking about it, but I hope they are. I really, these people make a lot more money than I do. They should be, coming up with this stuff. Not me.
I agree. Okay, I got to go. My phone's about to die.
Oh, thank you, Kellis, for the call. Okay, yeah, his phone did die. He was gone. And Kellis, that's great comment. That's absolutely true. Let's see what's online. Jose Martinez says, no love from Max Havoc? Max Havoc? I must have missed that paper. No, I think he's talking about a movie that was made here. Yeah. Was that the one with Carmen Miranda?
I don't know, but I think Gita dumped a bunch of money into that.
Well, they do that every now and then. There was a really good Gita production that was done back in '94. They sprang for the money for a video and compact disc of a Chamorro Christmas celebration, and it is good. It is really good. And I happen to have both the videotape and the CD. and it's great stuff. I play it every Christmas, and that's an example of where Gita, has been supporting the local arts. Don't get me started. Construction, there's a percentage of construction costs that goes, instead of going into the general fund as a tax, they say, no, we won't tax you. You just dump this money into the arts, or give it to Chamorro Affairs, Guam Council in the Arts and Humanities Agency, and they know what to do with it. The artists are all huddled over there. I don't know. Well, whatever happened to just straight on taxation? This is what we're taxing you. Instead of this stuff where, you just go ahead and give $100,000 to Gita, and then Gita will know what to do with it. All they do is what they do. They don't really have to use it for some of the purposes, since it includes economic development, and that means their own staff. Oh well, let's not get diverted on that. Let's see. It's 4:31. It's time to go to John Gibson. He's digging up history, and then after that, we'll come back with Dwayne George's editorial musings from the Pacific Daily News today.
John Gibson, digging up history. The guy who invented the flashlight but missed out on making millions bounced back with another invention that also made millions. That story after this. Let's talk heirloom sheets and towels from Redland Cotton in Alabama. First, the family farm, growing the finest cotton in the world. The spinning, the looming, every step made in America, right down to the cutting and sewing. Sheets designed from a long-lost 1920s weave. The softest, most comfortable, longest-lasting sheets you've ever slept on. The Redland family, dedicated to America and linens you'll treasure. Check out redlandcotton.com for America's linen. redlandcotton.com. Joshua L. Cowan invented a metal tube that contains small batteries and a light bulb on the end. Sounds like a flashlight, right? Yeah. But Cowan's idea was to use the tube to light up flower pots. His partner thought that was harebrained, bought him out, and made millions with the ever-ready flashlight and battery company. But Cowan wasn't finished. He'd had a passion for miniature model trains since he was a kid. When he invented a small electric motor for a fan, he realized it was the perfect engine for his model trains. He formed another company for the model trains and made millions. You know him. Joshua L. Cowan's middle name was Lionel, and he founded the Lionel Model Train Empire. I'm John Gibson, digging up history.
Attention homeowners, MRE solar energy systems now come with battery storage for zero money down. This means that your home will have power even when the island power isn't available, like during power outages or during and after storms. The inconvenience of not having power for your home is a thing of the past. It's solar with battery storage exclusively by Micronesia Renewable Energy. Don't be left in the dark. Call 632-2613 for a free consultation. MRE, the smarter choice.
Welcome back to Tall Tales with Bob Klitzkie, Guam's single voice of reason. Call now, 888-TALK. That's 888-8255. And now, sitting in for the vacationing Bob Klitzkie, here's Daryl Taggarty.
We must reject the politics of revenge, resistance, and retribution, and embrace the boundless potential of cooperation, compromise, and the common good. It's reverberating off the walls here. And quoting our president from the 2019 State of the Union address. Ike Aseki's here, and let's see. My garb is attracting some attention here. Let's see. Jose Martinez said Carradine was the bad guy in Max Havoc. Is that the deal? If I understand this right? Replying to Jose, to himself, right? Carradine was the bad guy. I guess I'm just trying to redeem the social value of this style. Now, actually, the shirt feels really good, and so I wanted to wear it. You'll find me wearing a few other things this guy, my wife is kind of arguing with me not to appear in public in these things. Not this shirt, but some others. I'll bring them in. You'll see me if you're tuned in on Facebook. John Dozier says, big boost for the bingo industry when the money finally comes. Yeah. Well, my mom was a big bingo fan. Big. And I used to accompany her to the old Guam Recreation Center across from Adelup, and also to the cathedral, and to Quintanita's house over there and by the traffic light in Chalampago back in '68, the overnight bingo. Oh, those were the days. But I tell you, it might be, and you know, whatever they want to do with that money, I'm so happy to have them do what they can, because I tell you, they've been they've been enjoying the fruits of the liberation since then. They have been enjoying their life, and at the time, it wasn't even sure they were going to have a life, and that's sort of where we are with the war reparations question. So let's go on to see what the PDN has to say in its editorial column today. They say, disclose update. No reason to keep secret. Update on military buildup. And it goes like this. Our community's elected officials need to remember that they represent and work for us. They have an obligation to keep us informed about important issues that will have an impact on all of us. That's why the decision of Speaker Tina Munya Barnes to withhold information about an update on the military buildup, which was presented by military officials to some lawmakers Tuesday, disappointing. On Tuesday evening, a representative from the Speaker's office said the information from the meeting would be provided to the newspaper in the interest of transparency. But the Speaker's office reneged on that promise Wednesday morning, saying they couldn't release details because the military wants to keep it a secret. Chirag Bhojwani, there we go, sorry, a communications specialist for the Speaker's office, said the update was for, quote, official use only, end quote, and that it, quote, it was given in confidence. But Bhojwani did say the update is primarily a list of build-up projects and the funding source for those projects. Marine Corps Activity Guam said, quote, the meeting provided an opportunity for both sides to engage in open dialogue to further understand the ongoing development of the future Marine Corps base Camp Blas and the relocation of Marines to Guam. So what's the need for secrecy? This isn't sensitive, highly classified information about U.S. military strategy or planned troop movements. This is basic information about the military buildup on Guam. This will affect us all, from increased traffic to infrastructure to housing and more. The people of Guam require and demand our elected officials to be open and transparent with us. We voted them into office. They work for us and are beholden to us. They're supposed to do what's best for us and our island, not to kowtow to requests by the military to keep basic information secret from the people. Quote, it is important we become partners, not adversaries, with the military, Barnes stated Tuesday. Yes, Guam's elected officials should be partners with the military regarding the buildup, but not silent partners, not partners that can't be trusted to provide information about the military buildup with their constituents. Sharing that kind of information isn't adversarial, except against the people of Guam. I should have a sound effect here that goes something like this. No. Something like that. No, no, no. There's an article in the paper today, and maybe he should have read that and rewrote, changed up his editorial a little bit, or plopped something in from USA Today. Now, I'll tell you why. The article in the paper, his own paper, says that the folks who are in charge of the buildup are having a press conference tomorrow to tell everybody about what's going on. So the meeting on Tuesday was so that Speaker Barnes would not hear about it through the newspaper, through the press. That's why the briefing. So the information was embargoed, but I guess that's not in the vocabulary of Chirag Bajwani. Embargoed. Here's the information. Please don't release it. It's for your information, but it's going to be released by us on this day to the media. But so you don't have no surprises. And if you have any questions, I'm sitting right here. You can ask me, and I'll explain it. These aren't secrets. It's a courtesy. And what a lot of, umbrage over a pretty simple concept. So sorry, Dwayne, you put your name on this. I'll be looking for your next one, and I always look forward to your writings. But today, I got the blue pen, but I'm not quite sure I'm gonna give anyone a star. Well, maybe you shouldn't be surprised after I just read them to you. And actually, this is what I was kind of getting at about the, when I was talking about the 10-legged spider a couple days ago. One data point, 10 legs, can't be a spider. One data point. How do you know what it is? How do you understand taking it from one data point? Don't even know if it's moving. Anyway. So, thank you. But I know journalists have a really tough time of it. I get to sit back and see what they had to put down on the page based on how they understood it at the moment. And that's why I think they have editorial boards. But and I have the luxury of time after reading it over a cup of coffee, and then driving down here and mulling it over in the back of my mind, and then I can come in here and make my comments. And so I'm not minimizing the importance of the effort on this Zami Katni portion of the show. I'm really not. I just want them to do better. Because what the editorial expression is of the newspaper becomes a written history of this island. When so many of us know better what's really going on. But like Delegate St. Nicholas said, he didn't want to have to depend on the media to get his message across. That's why he used Facebook Live to go straight to the 40,000 people 60,000 people on Guam who are signed up on Facebook. I mean, yeah, those numbers seem to impress, and I can see why he might want to just go directly. Many politicians have wanted to go directly to the people, but it's harder and harder these days. Not a lot of pocket meetings or, lots of attendance at town halls and whatnot. So, and of course he's there. So it's easy to do this stuff electronically. But the newspapers have a responsibility to go broad and bring in the different strands of information and make sense of it. And so not to let anyone get away with stuff, but to deliberate first and then to express. And so there are a couple of other there's two columns in today's paper that are worth mentioning. One is Ron McNinch's writings on the wall, where he said, "Let voters decide on recreational marijuana." I'm not going to read it to you. Certainly I commend it to you in the Guam Daily Post today. And what I wanted to add to this is that he's saying, let's not wait until, the 2020 elections to decide on this, to put it to the people. Let's have an election in May or June of this year. And he said, he suggests, allow voters 1 month to go into their mayor's office and express their opinions on a simple yes-no ballot. We don't have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on this question, but the voters should be allowed to approve or disapprove it. You know what might be really interesting to do? And it might cost a little bit, but it would be real interesting and doable. And that would be for registered voters to go in and register to vote on their personal devices that they themselves hold on to. And let the Guam Election Commission start a registry on certain topics like this, so that we can take the heat off the people that we elected to make these decisions, and make those decisions ourselves. On some of these, where they don't want to take full credit for thinking it up and jamming it through. Another one that might be a good one to put to the voters is whether the mayors should be the ones to not only run the parade, but run the carnival and the fair. I mean, because for some reason they think that they've been doing a great job. And I think they've been doing a great job with the parade. But I don't know about the carnival. And that carnival is only survived because of gambling. And gambling's not legal on this island. We have to exempt it in order to make it happen, allow it to happen. And that's a loophole. It's a huge loophole. We're going to fund a carnival that doesn't draw through an illegal activity. So anyway, so that was Ron McNish. Thank you for your column in today's Guam Daily Post. And the second one I'd like to mention, we have a 3 minutes here before our next break, and that is King Perez put in the paper today, it's important for Guam to get seated on House Armed Services Committee. You've seen, you should read this. This is a good article. You've seen where Delegate St. Nicholas was crowing about being appointed to the Financial Services Committee and also some other committee. I didn't quite understand it. I've got to go back and do some look at what committee he was talking about. But he did not get on the Armed Services Committee. And I hope there's time for him to do that. And he might be kind of busy being on 4 committees, but I tell you what, if he's not on the Armed Services Committee gaining seniority, if he expects to be around for 3 or 4 terms, and he's not on the Armed Services Committee, he'll be a spectator in the audience. The only place where he can vote is on committee. He will be a spectator in the audience, or he'll be bringing in, he'll be ushering people having to travel from Guam, or he'll have to be, after a year, he'll be standing on the sides watching Madeline Bordallo testify before Congress, before the Armed Services Committee, wagging her finger and saying, "You all know me. You all know this stuff to be true. I've been telling you this for 10 years." Because we got the military buildup coming on. And he's not in position to pick up the phone and go, "Excuse me, General, but can you explain to me why it is that this XYZ is going on?" And expect an answer. If he's not on the committee, a phone call may not go through. It may go to a yes, Congressman, I will be sure to give him the message. But if you're on the committee and you're voting on all the other things that are important to the United States Armed Services, budget, priorities, if you're not on that committee, then you're not using your leverage. as the only delegate to the Congress and the only place you can vote, which is in committee. I think, in my opinion, I think he was thinking of himself and not thinking of us. If you can get a chance, go pick up Guam Daily Post and take a look at page 24 and read Ken Perez's article. Very well thought. It was obvious to the rest of us. I just didn't think he was done with his committee assignments. I hope he's not. Well, it's 10 minutes to 5. Let's take a break here, and we'll be back with more Tall Tales.
When your family needs medical care, how often do you find the need to visit multiple clinics? When a child has a serious ailment, do you find yourself meeting a medical provider only to learn you must go somewhere else for testing? At the FHP Health Center, you can find multiple specialties and testing services under one roof. And if your family needs urgent care, FHP is there for you with convenient weekday, evening, and weekend hours. Voted the island's best clinic and Pica's best 2 years in a row. FHP, our island, your clinic. Learn more at fhpguam.com.
Hi, welcome to this Subway ad for our all-new Ultimate Cheesy Garlic Bread. How would you like it?
I'll take a skeptical grandma.
Set in her ways?
A smidge.
Grandma, try this Ultimate Meatball Marinara made with Ultimate Cheesy Garlic Bread. Melted mozzarella, Parmesan, garlic butter spread. It's just like yours.
Like mine? My grandmother's recipe?
Try it.
You know, my grandmother's cheesy garlic bread was never all that.
Subway, make it what you want. Limited time only at participating restaurants.
We now return to Tall Tales with Bob Klitzkie, soaring over the confusion with his superpowers of truth. Call 888-TALK. That's 888-8255. And now, sitting in for the vacationing Bob Klitzkie, here's Daryl Taggarty.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed, I am here. And let's see. Still looking for some more comments online and also for your phone call at 888-8255. In the meantime, this morning, Ray Gibson was talking about Adelup becoming vacant once again. Well, some of us old-timers remember that it was a school way back when, and they couldn't keep the thing from leaking. They always had to go out there and tar the roof, the cement roof, and also there weren't enough kids in the district. It was the smallest school on the island. It was smaller than Sanchez down in Pneumatic. But it had so few students. Only half the rooms were occupied, and the food was trucked in. They didn't even need to have a cafeteria with burners and stoves on site because of it was so small. The population was so small. And then it was renovated in 1985 for the governor's office. And if the Palazzo is built down at the Plaza de España, then the governor's office could be moved back over there. I don't know. For some reason, it was explained it would be something like an extension of the Guam Museum. But if the governor's office could be put in the Palazzo, or a new executive office building with a number of agencies, including the governor's office and BBMR and Bureau of Planning, well then, Adelup would be available again, and we could use it as a terminal for cruise ships. Just build a wharf out there on the reef or just past the reef, and have the ships pull up to it. I was planning. I was supposed to go into Google Earth or check on nautical maps and see how deep the water is there. What's the contour of the underneath? We still have to get Army Corps of Engineers approval and stuff like that. And but I just had to bring it up, and Ray said bring it up this afternoon. It's a good time to bring it up, and that is if we build something out there on Adelup Point, it's going to have to pass National Park Service rules on the visual easement from the War in the Pacific National Historical Park, because looking at the point from the beachhead where the park is, It's supposed to retain its original look from 1944. I don't know how the Ladder of Freedom got there, but without having the National Park Service come down. But the National Park Service, for example, stopped the building of the walls on that side. I think there was a reason why the walls that fell were not fixed again, and this sort of thing. And it's not that I don't think it's a good idea. I think it's a great idea, because you could have a wharf there to pull up a cruise ship, and you wouldn't have to dredge inside the reef, and have a break in the reef, and then have the erosion coming in from the opening, that's that whole thing. And then fish, sharks coming in. But I just, it's good that we're thinking about these things, because sometimes there's not enough imagination and thought going into what is Guam going to look like in 20, 30 years, and start making these kinds of plans now. But as I mentioned yesterday, the day before, when this came out, when we were talking about Agana development, the cruise ship terminal was part of Governor Berdalio's 1975 capital improvement project request to the Congress. It was in a book that was about 3/4 of an inch thick, and it was 11 by 17, horizontal, landscape layout, and it had this brown, almost like construction paper, and it had an orange cover. And I treasured my copy of that. There's probably several of them up at Mark, maybe down in the museum, the library in Agana. But that was his idea, like right out there across from Roddy's and KFC. There would be an opening in the reef, and the West Agana Bay would be dredged out large enough to turn a cruise ship around, and it would the wharf would be right up along where the sand is now. And so, it's a good idea. Online, taking a look at some comments here. Ishmael Velez says, "How can you say MSN?" Not at MSNBC. MSN. Michael St. Nicholas is in it for himself. That's arrogant. The easiest way to make his voice louder via a megaphone is via a megaphone. And that's what he's doing, reaching out to other caucuses, yeah, I guess plural caucuses, to amplify his voice, his thoughts, his vision. Yes, in financial services, which will benefit the entire United States with his participation. But he would not have a voice in the Armed Services Committee. And by the structure of the Congress, and by the powers delegated by Congress to Guam for its elected representative to Congress, he has a vote in committee. And if he's not on the Armed Services Committee, he doesn't have leverage on the Armed Services Executive Agency, the Department of Defense. That's my point. And yes, he's using Facebook Live. Yes, good. It's good. Technology. But reaching out to other areas of the federal government to amplify his voice, that's what I meant. In it for himself, he's thinking of himself, because it's the things he's interested in, not the things that the people of Guam are interested in, which is what do we have civilian say-so on the movings and of the military within our shores here. So that was the point. But thank you, Ishmael, for your comment, because it helps to clarify these things. I wish him well. It's just about 5 o'clock. Time for the halftime show. We'll be back in just about 6 or 7 minutes with more Tall Tales here on The Point.
The Point is KUSG, Hagåtña, Guam, 1350 AM, 93.3 FM, and 104.3 HD3.
Virginia's political crisis deepens. I'm Jack Callahan, Fox News. Virginia's Attorney General Mark Herring now under fire for confessing that he once dressed in blackface at a college party years ago.
In a statement, he said the memory of that experience has haunted him ever since, and he continues that I have contributed to the pain Virginians have felt this week is the greatest shame I have ever felt. In the days ahead, honest conversations and discussions will make it clear whether I can or should continue to serve as Attorney General. But no matter where we go from here, I will say that from the bottom of my heart, I am deeply, deeply sorry for the pain that I caused with this revelation.
Fox's Garrett Tenney. Only days ago, Herring called on Virginia's Governor Ralph Northam to resign after racist photos from his medical school yearbook surfaced. Meanwhile, the National Organization for Women is calling on Virginia's Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax to resign after Vanessa Tyson, the woman who claims that he sexually assaulted her 15 years ago, released details of the encounter. Only days before planning to formally announce her presidential campaign, Senator Elizabeth Warren apologizing for claiming Native American ancestry.
Senator Warren told the Washington Post she's sorry for furthering confusion about her ancestry. The paper reporting Warren identified herself as American Indian on a registration card for the State Bar of Texas more than 3 decades ago. The Massachusetts Democrat and White House hopeful later clarified she's not a tribal citizen.
I should have been more mindful of the distinction with tribal citizenship and tribal sovereignty.
Warren released the results of a DNA test last year claiming evidence of Native American ancestry going back 6 to 10 generations. President Trump frequently mocks her as Pocahontas.
Fox's Steve Rappaport. The Pentagon moving 250 troops to the Eagle Pass border crossing in Texas. Several hundred migrants have gathered across the Rio Grande River in Mexico. The city of Nogales, Arizona, passing a resolution condemning the Army's deployment of razor wire along the border. This is Fox News.
Hi, this is Ray Gibson from The Morning Show on 93.3 The Point. And we're celebrating our 1-year anniversary this February. The Point is your news talk headquarters with top news, sports, weather, and traffic, and of course, always a little extra. We want to thank our listeners, fans, and followers for keeping us on our toes and joining us on this journey. The Ray Gibson Show Anniversary Celebration is brought to you by Take Care, our island, your health plan.
At Chili's, our burgers stack up with anyone's. Handcrafted to order, smashed to lock in flavor on a toasted brioche bun. Our burgers are all kinds of perfect. Choose from the Chili's Chili, the Mushroom Swiss, the Ultimate Bacon, or you know what? We dare you to take on the Boss Burger. Loaded with smoked brisket, rib meat, jalapeno cheddar sausage, and bacon. We may have really out-burgered ourselves. Our burgers are more than a handful, served with garlic, dill pickles, and fries. So hurry in today and enjoy our juicy, melty, yummy, handcrafted creations. Perfection between 2 buns. Chili's, more life happens here.
Congressional Democrats opening a new investigation of President Trump.
House Intel Chairman Democrat Adam Schiff announcing a new wide-ranging probe of the president's foreign business dealings and Russian election meddling, adding,
for the last 2 years, the Republican majority has essentially been missing in action when it comes to being a co-equal branch of government.
But Senate GOP leadership is firing back, with John Barrasso telling Fox News at night,
the House is going to have to decide whether they want to legislate or investigate.
Of course, this all comes following the president's calls to reject what he called the politics of revenge and to embrace cooperation in his State of the Union address. In Washington, Charles Angel, Fox News.
For the 3rd time in less than a year, Milwaukee police mourning the death of one of their own. Police Chief Alfonso Morales says the men and women in his command do dangerous jobs.
They know this going into it. What they need is your thoughts, your prayers, and we will get through this.
On Wednesday, 17-year police veteran Matthew Rickner was shot and killed while trying to serve a warrant on a home. The suspect was arrested. 2019 isn't 6 weeks old yet, but there have already been 7 police officers shot and killed. In Denver, public school teachers warning they're ready to walk for higher wages.
State officials believe teachers and the school district are close to a deal on a new contract, but teachers say they plan to strike next week after the state declined to intervene in a pay dispute. Governor Jared Polis says he expects the district and the union to keep talking through the week to try to avoid a walkout. The union represents over 5,600 Denver educators who voted overwhelmingly in January in favor of a strike. Tom Rigotti, Fox News.
Satellite images suggest Iran has attempted a second satellite launch despite U.S. criticism of its weapons program. Iran has not acknowledged conducting a launch, but satellite images show a rocket on Iran's launch pad Tuesday that was gone Wednesday with apparent burn marks left behind. I'm Jack Callahan. This is Fox News.
Make the good things last longer. Get 3 more days for free on our 3-day prepaid rate plan. That's 6 days of unlimited local calls, SMS, and 1 gig of 4G LTE data per day for just $7.95. Text HS3 to 3282 from your Docomo Pacific prepaid phone to sign up today. Docomo Pacific. Better together. Some conditions apply.
Family Finance has been serving the people of Guam since 1959, and they'll continue to be there for you in the years to come. Whether you're looking to get a personal loan for that summer vacation or paying off those long overdue bills, Family Finance has got you covered. Apply for a personal loan from $1,000 up to $3,600 by calling Family Finance in Agutya at 475-4545, Upper Tumon at 647-5626, or in Dededo, 633-4473. Family Finance, serving the people of Guam since 1959.
And again, as the smoke clears on this beautiful afternoon on Guam, and our halftime show, thrilling halftime show is over, and we get right back in the game here. I'm Darrell Taggarty, sitting in for the vacationing Bob Klitzkie here on Tall Tales for a Thursday afternoon, and the countdown is Bob returns in 28 days. 28 days, count them, 28 days. We were talking before the top of the hour break about columns that had been written, contributed to the paper, to the papers, Kin Perez and Ron McNinch, and there's a really interesting one in yesterday's PDN. No, yesterday's Post. Sorry. By Mark Mendiola, the public schools board chair, and John Fernandez, the superintendent of schools. The $343 million question for education. It's one of the top priorities, right? And yes, this is worth going through, because I ran some of the numbers just to see what we're talking about here. But it's very interesting. I'm going to kind of go through and we'll talk about this for a minute. If you have any thoughts on it, certainly by all means tap them out to me on Facebook or give us a call here at 888-8255. And this is what they say. Every year, the Guam Department of Education submits its budget request to the Guam legislature. The request usually tops $300 million. This year, the request is $343 million. Let us explain why. Our education department is mandated by the Organic Act of Guam to provide public education to all children. This mandate is spelled out in even clearer terms in the Every Child is Entitled to an Adequate Education Act of 2005, which was, by the way, authored by our own Bob Klitzkie. It's Public Law 28-45. Which sets forth 14 specific points that GDOE must address. Did you know that the law also allows a public school student to sue GDOE, the legislature, and the executive branch should there be a failure to appropriate sufficient funding to meet the 14 points? Yes, it's true. It's written right in there. These principles guide each school and division as they propose budgets for personnel, equipment, and supply needs that meet these mandates. Each school shares its proposed budget and invites input in a public hearing with its stakeholders, and then schools and divisions meet with the superintendent and management team before the budget is approved by the Guam Education Board and submitted to the legislature by the January 30 deadline. January 30 deadline. So as we sit here today, the legislature has had the budgets for fiscal 2020, proposed budgets in their hands. And this is only 1 month into this administration. Remember, I've been harping on this about what, if you really want to see what changes there are in the works, true changes, they'll be in that budget. It's only been a month that they've been sworn in. Just about a month now. As of January 30, that was only like 3 weeks. But from the time of the election, when we knew the results, who was going in, it's been 3 months. A closer look, back to what Mark Mendiola and John Fernandez have to say. Yes, GDOE typically accounts for 26% of the government of Guam's revenues of roughly $928 million available for operations, with an average appropriation of $237 million over the past 5 years, inclusive of the charter schools funding. But let's take a closer look at the numbers. So I'm going to just stop here for a moment. So $237 million is what they've been living on for the past 5 years on average. But what they want is $106 million more this year. They're requesting $106 million more than the $237 million that they usually get that are adequate to take care of the operations, if not to meet the law. Okay, so then he goes through. With 30,000 students at a maximum classroom size of 28, we employ classroom teachers for an estimated $135.5 million in salary and benefits. Teachers can't do it alone. We also need librarians, counselors, nurses, and school aides, and are still working to meet the requirements of our collective bargaining agreement with the Guam Federation of Teachers. And then there's numbers attached to these librarians, counselors, nurses, and school aides. Next, administrators help oversee schools and the needs of staff and students. We spend $17.5 million on utilities yearly. While consumption has gone down by 30% over the past year, costs have only gone down 2%. We spend $5 million on supplies, but the real issue is textbooks. Each year we receive an appropriation of $1.5 million for textbooks. The true cost to provide textbooks is $17.2 million. And so I'm going to... So if $17.2 million, you would replace all of the textbooks or come current with textbooks that have been deferred over the years. I know there's shortages of textbooks. I don't doubt that. But I'm not really sure what the 17.2, if that's an annual, that's what they should be getting annually for textbooks. And, and there's also the whole idea of electronic books, e-books, and readers, and the payments to the publisher for the e-books. We contract out for custodial, air conditioning, and food service, and more. This costs about $180,000 per school for outsourced food services. They don't talk about the custodial, air conditioning, food service, and other things besides the food services. But that's okay. I'll add these numbers up for you. And then there's the central office, which elected officials like to target whenever there is a budget discussion. The central office is essentially administrative overhead to support a 41-school, 19-division, $300 million plus organization, yet the costs are less than 5%, which is a reasonable benchmark. And that is a reasonable benchmark. So you're talking about 5% or about $12 million for central office. $12 million is about 5% of $237 million. There's the issue of facilities and maintenance. The Army Corps of Engineers has documented more than $90 million in deferred maintenance. We were talking about maintenance last Friday. Deferred maintenance, $90 million. This year we ask for just a portion of that amount at $19.4 million. And this has been knocked around for years. You might remember that Governor Calvo was promising $100 million to Guam DOE for years to take care of all the problems in all the schools. These are well documented, and this is a solid figure. I think it's gone down $10 million because schools have been actually replaced instead of being scheduled for repair. Normally, this wouldn't be an issue because capital improvements typically get financed so that the life of the improvement matches the term of financing. In short, governments typically borrow to fund long-term capital investments and then pay debt service each year. Because we don't have financing, we are asking for a large part of this money at once. So it may be that they're going to be replacing some buildings with the $90 million, but they can get along with 19.4 just to do the maintenance. And that's besides the maintenance they're already doing. When I added up all these numbers, and I did, and there's more of this editorial to go, but when I added up the numbers, the difference between the numbers they were citing and the $237 million was about $20 million. So I'm going to just put that into that category where it says we contract out for custodial, air conditioning, and more. They cover the food services. And maybe the food services was short. Let me see. I think I might have, if they said 41 schools, so 41 times 180,000. So maybe it's not 20 million, it's about 10 million. So that's what they are. I think I was estimating 19 schools, but that's daft. 41 schools, so we're talking about $10 million in contracts for custodial, air conditioning, repairs, and stuff like that. That makes sense. That makes sense. And so they're asking for $19.4 million, which would increase, it would triple that budget for contracts. And that makes sense. Okay, let's go back to this column. We need to invest in the right things. What does $343 million buy? It buys us facilities that are safe and in good repair. It buys a textbook for every student. It provides school support staff to help with the safety and supervision of students. It ensures working air conditioners, desks, and chairs in good, as I flip the page, condition, adequate supplies and equipment, better security, and all other modest requests made by our schools and divisions to support our children and our employees. And I used to be very active in the PTAs when my boys were in elementary school. And yes, the schools are not asking for a lot. They're just asking for the things that they are expected to have anyway by the parents. Parents say, this fire alarm doesn't look like it's working. Or, why are you guys using those little walkie-talkies from Price Costco or Best Buy instead of telephones? That sort of thing. Can any money for replacing the tin on this canopy between the buildings? Why are we still using wood? Are there kids going in those wood temporary buildings? And the answer would be no, because the floor is about to fall through because the leaks and the termites. So only adults are allowed in there, so we use it as a resource room. But then we put stuff in there, and then the termites get it, and then it's no use. We have to throw it out. So actually nobody goes in there because it's full of termites. That kind of thing. Oh, nobody's killing the termites. Now let's continue here. Yes, at the end of the day, we have learned to live with budgets that run $100 million less than our request. We have tolerated siphoning off the funds to support charter schools. I'm going to stop there and comment. This is the per student amount. So you take the census of all the students and you divide up how many students are going to the schools, And then that's like $3,700, and this is the money that the legislature appropriates. And they wrote it in, so as fewer students go to public schools, that money goes to the charter schools because they're picking up the 1,000 or so students. We have offered legislative solutions to increase revenue. We have tried to band-aid our school facilities when a renovation is greatly needed. We share textbooks and try to provide supplemental materials. We fix our own desks and chairs at the schools. At the end of the day, we are forced to make do with what we have, but this doesn't make it right. And then this is the conclusion. In order for Guam's economy to grow, we need to invest in the right things, the right industries, the right infrastructure, and the right kind of education, preparation, and training for our workforce. Are we investing where it counts? And that's why I wanted to bring this up to you. They ask the right question at the end. And everything before it is what is. Because certainly, the people of the legislature are very keen to provide what funds are available for the Department of Education so that they are not seen as like you have to fund the police department because otherwise you're going to be seen as soft on crime, or and you got to fund Department of Education, or else the highest priority is not being funded. Our children, it's for our children. But I'm going to take issue with this. I think the real question should be, let me read that last paragraph again, because I totally agree with everything that came before the last paragraph and the questions asked in the last paragraph. But they are absolutely two different things. They are not the same thing. In order for Guam's economy to grow, we need to invest in the right things, the right industries, the right infrastructure, and the right kind of education, preparation, and training for our workforce. Are we investing where it counts? Investing, when you invest, you don't say, I'm going to put this amount of money into this activity because that's what this activity needs. That's what the whole beginning part, everything except the last paragraph, is talking about inputs. Even Bob Klitzkie's brainchild, Public Law 28-45, Every Child is Entitled to an Adequate Education Act of 2005. A measure that I remember I was working for Jesse Lujan at the time, and I walked over to him and shook his hand and said, thank you so much for doing this. It doesn't hit the target, but at least somebody's doing something. And the other senators had to pass it. They couldn't vote against it. It was a bill that was written that nobody could vote against. Although two people didn't vote in committee for it. They just didn't vote. You can go back and see that in the record. You'll be surprised who they are. But I'll tell you what, it's not about the inputs. When you invest, it's what you're going to get out of it. What are the results of the Department of Education is the real question. $343 million might not be such an additional $106 million might not be such a haul if we're going to get what we need, which is the adequate education based on results, based on the preparation of students for the world of today, not for the 30%, 40% that come out of the public schools and do just fine. But the 60% who are not quite sure what to do, they need additional education, they didn't quite get it the first time around, they're not motivated, there's no connection with the world of today, there's no values, there's no civics, there's no physical education, there's no health. awareness, don't know where they are in the world. But we put them through, but they had air conditioning. And yeah, we had to kind of tough it because, you know, we didn't have books, so we had to photocopy this stuff, and we had a big photocopy machine in the office, and then we just ran, you know, that truck kept coming with paper. And yeah, we had those whiteboards. Those whiteboards are great. And yeah, we've finally got, after 10 years, we finally got the schools wired for Wi-Fi. But if you ever tried going through the system, you can't go to most sites because of the firewall. And this is the teachers complaining, the librarians complaining. To me. Me. Can I do something about it? Well, I've talked to a few people down at DOE, and they don't recognize my credentials. Let's put it that way. And, you know, they don't get paid to recognize what I say. They don't get paid to listen to me. They get paid to listen to the superintendent and the chairman of the board and do what they say to do. And so far, the system's hung together nicely. Yes, they are able to get through the school year without the whole thing just going kablooey, unless you ask the people from Sanchez or what's the school for the behavioral people with that need special attention to address behavioral issues and get them through school, help them get through school, which has kind of fallen off to the side, and maybe they're going to bring it back. I don't know. Haven't heard too much about that. But when I see Mark Mendiola and John Fernandez hanging out the question why they need an additional $106 million to meet the requirements of Public Law 28-45, and I don't see children coming out of the schools just flowering, eager. I don't see people who are even going in construction trades. 133 carpenters with 2 years experience. How many years have the H-2 workers not been approved? And nobody's applying for these jobs. Never mind the $14.51 an hour. The unemployment figures are so low in the 50 states, they could go there and work. And maybe our legislature would change would challenge the prevailing wages. And our income, I mean, the cost of building houses might go up on Guam, but we could have more of our people earning a living wage, able to support their families on Guam, not support their families in the Philippines. Nothing against the Filipino workers. They do a great job, and we get our work done cheaply, inexpensively. Sorry, it's good quality work, less expensive. It should benefit us. But we're being asked to put out not $237 million, but $343 million for education a year. But let's not talk about results. Let's not talk about how we are meeting the needs of 95% of those students. Richard Leon says, and little Lou LG got losers for her admin. Low standards are being taught. You know, I totally agree. I think John Fernandez is doing a stellar job of holding the department together. And I know from what I've seen of the people who are working within the Department of Education They are worth every dollar that we pay them. The contracts are straight. The people, everyone's working. I have no doubt about that. That we're getting our money's worth for the $243 million, $237 million. That's not the point. The point isn't how much you put in. It's how much you get back. It's 5:30. That's a seventh inning stretch. Do I need one? No, I'm pretty stretched out and warmed up already for this. But let's take our seventh inning stretch and come back with more Tall Tales after this.
When your family needs medical care, how often do you find the need to visit multiple clinics? When a child has a serious ailment, do you find yourself meeting a medical provider only to learn you must go somewhere else for testing? At the FHP Health Center, you can find multiple specialties and testing services under one roof. And if your family needs urgent care, FHP is there for you with convenient weekday, evening, and weekend hours. Voted the island's best clinic and Pika's best 2 years in a row. FHP, our island, your clinic. Learn more at FHPGuam.com. The Extra Point with Jerry Roberts of Guam Training every morning on The Ray Gibson Show.
Does your workplace have a game plan when it comes to colds and flu and protecting all of your team members from coming down with an illness when it could have been avoided? This could be one of our most important programs.
You can find daily transcripts of The Extra Point at GuamTraining.com. Tune in every weekday morning at 7:20 for The Extra Point with Jerry Roberts. Brought to you by Guahan Insurance Services and First Hawaiian Bank on 93.3 The Point.
All right. And there it is. Oh, yeah. That organ. Wow. Wow. You know, I want, let's go into something a little lighter. I've got to, we can talk about the mayors beginning the Liberation Day prep. Now they're getting on the horse and riding hard. They want to try to get that gambling money going. They better get moving. If you want to, which side of the bread is buttered. You better get moving. Actually, anytime a bill is put in, it kind of throws into question whether it's the bill is going to catch up with you, that it's going to say. That's going to change the rules, change the law by about the time you're expected to be performing, and it may. Let's say the bill is passed in 2 months. Let's say it's in the March session, but there's not enough time for GVB to ramp up because it's not in GVB's budget for this year anyway. We're still going to have a hearing on the bill, but in the meantime, the mayors are moving on. They're starting their Liberation Day prep. Liberation Day, yeah, start the Liberation Day prep, but starting the Guam Island Fair prep, the Guam Carnival, Liberation Carnival prep, and let's see, it said. They're insulted. The mayors are insulted by. I guess this is part of the card, isn't it? It's the card. It's Senator Talina Nelson, Vice Speaker Talina Nelson versus the Mayor's Council, the mayors of Guam. And the mayors had a meeting yesterday morning, and they are just banging hard. Nelson issued a statement hours after the mayor's meeting inviting the mayors and GVB to meet with her about the bill, saying she cares about their concerns. Quote, however, the mayors need to keep in mind and heart the interests of all Guam residents when it comes to Liberation Day. no matter the village they represent. We need to honor the voice and will of the people who, without room for compromise, have staunchly said no to gambling 5 times since 2000. End quote, Nelson said. And, you know, she's drawn a line in the sand, and she's, you know, when she gets her blood up, it's you got yourself a fight on your hands. I think she's up to it. I think she's equal to it. And there's only one place to fight your fight, and that is at the line in the sand you drew. So I sure hope she keeps going with it. Although I understand the mayors are in kind of a tough spot, because if they don't start planning now, there's no time to get things done. But I guess they're going to plan even harder now. And how many would let's see, how many are going to go to Senator Vice Speaker Nelson's office? And then the article continues, talking about Senator James Moylan's bill to allow mayors to come up with rules and regulations on games of chance at carnivals and fairs. How hard do you think they're working on that part? I wonder. I don't recall individual mayors retaining people on their staff who are skilled at writing regulations, especially on something as that would require rev and tax, drafting them out, just at least some kind of an indication of what they would look like. But drafting them out, or rev and tax, getting on board with starting to draft what kinds of regulations would be, procedures would be useful. If they should become authorized by a bill, and then they have to go through the AAA process. It won't happen by July. Yeah, Nelson says, my opposition is not personal. And I totally believe that. So, and there's it says Terlahi's committee. Let's see, Moylan and 3 other co-sponsors of Bill 29, Joe San Augustine, Will Castro, and Peter Terlahi, attended the Mayor's Council meeting. Nelson sent a member of her staff, and she said that all can work harder at finding alternative funding. Then it says Terlahi's committee will hold an informational hearing on Bill 29 at 6 p.m. on Friday. So is that under Peter Terlahi's committee? They didn't make it clear. Again, Heights Mayor Paul McDonald said Nelson is once again, quote, taking the rug under mayor's feet, end quote, the same way she did in 2017 when she pushed for a casino gambling ban at the Liberation Day Carnival. And so that's the brouhaha. Let's see. I got I tickle somebody's fancy here, and they're on line 1. Line 1, thank you for calling Tall Tales.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi.
I just wanted to comment that, so are they going to have bingo at the Liberation? Because, I mean, games of chance and anything to do with money is still gambling. Why do we allow bingo on this island? That's still gambling.
Yeah, my mom even, you know, my dad questioned the amount of money my mother lost at bingo over the years.
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Oh.
Can you hear me?
No, I can hardly hear you.
Oh.
But I just wanted to say, too, I mean, why, you know, she said that everybody voted against gambling, and I remember voting, and I think it was not necessarily the fact that the gambling, it was the fact that things weren't clear, and people were scared to, you know, say yes to, you know, there was like a lot of loose ends, and it's different to say you don't want something than to understand why you're saying yes for it.
But yeah, the question was really on gambling, but it seemed to be phrased in a way that it would include bingo. And then it was like, no, we weren't talking about bingo. We were talking about casino gambling, because they're trying to get casino gambling in as a sort of a natural extension following the dog track. We had the dog track betting, and we had the video poker machines, and so they're trying to get the casino gambling in, following the dog track and the video poker machines, and the people said no, get rid of gambling. The church gave up its church bingo, even though as a nonprofit it would be eligible to hold bingo benefits for itself. It stopped that source of revenue, and so now nonprofits are allowed to do bingo, but it's a push the other direction, and that is to after the gambling, the casino was taken away, and other games of chance were taken away from the liberation fundraising effort 2 years ago by Senator Nelson's bill. Now, in 2019, there are 3 senators co-sponsoring a bill to allow the gambling to come back, but with tighter regulations that they would write. And so then here comes Senator Nelson saying, no, let's stop talking about how we're going to fund the Liberation Day activities using gambling. Just take it away from the mayors and give it to GVB and let them, they're already funded. So we're not going to be talking about exemptions to the law, which just open up these loopholes. The bingo is permitted under the law run by nonprofits, and that's actually a separate question completely. And yeah, people can talk about the damage that bingo does for family finances, but cockfighting and casino the video poker machines before had a much bigger impact. But we don't know what the impact is because we weren't even able to monitor it adequately, because we never wrote good regulations on how to enforce the law. And that was the big problem. If we had the moxie in our government to regulate a cash industry where people are making a business, they're investing in businesses to make money out of cash flow. If we could really regulate that, there wouldn't be a problem with casinos. But we can't even collect taxes that are due to us on the stuff that's being sold every day in the stores. And now that kind of thing, like the cigarettes, and even with the sin taxes on alcohol, how can you have a quart of vodka for $4.27? I thought the tax was about $4 on a quart of vodka. And that's why it's so confusing, because even when we speak clearly about what we want out of our government and for kind of a community we want to have, the people who are getting paid day in, day out to either write policies or write regulations or to enforce those regulations and policies don't quite do the job. And we have to keep coming back to this question over and over again, and debating publicly whether it's worth it to get involved, to have these industries at all. And it's just, that's why I'm sitting in for Bob Klitzkie, because this stuff gets me hot. And I just don't want to put up with it any longer. I've got gray hair. I've been thinking about this stuff for 40 years and trying to work within the government to get these ends tied up together, make the connections, and make a government that actually does the job it's paid to do with the taxes they collect. And it just seems to be sliding the wrong way continually, no matter who we vote for. And I don't see a better system. I'm not saying tear the system down, but we always have to be vigilant on every issue to sensitize these leaders and the government workers and law enforcement. Don't let them think that we're not watching them or that we expect no more than what they're giving us. And so you're right. You know, what about bingo? This is it muddies the water to bring this up at all. But yes, if you're going to have a policy on gambling, it isn't the gambling. It's the organized gambling where you have industries where there are major investors who want to get their hands on big cash flow businesses that the government has no way to regulate. And once that happens, if that ever happens here, we're going to have a phase. Most states have gone through this in the states in their political maturity, where you're going to have the large batch of unaccounted for cash that buys our officials, that buys our government officials, and they don't work for us anymore. And it would take the feds coming in to clean our clocks. And that would be just such a shame. We have to control this now. That's what politics and government and civic involvement is all about. Are you there?
I am.
You are.
Well said. Well said.
Well, thank you. You know, you brought this up. I mean, I'm talking about the article in the paper, and you brought this up about bingo because yes, we know. You know, that's where it touches us. About, you know, why why does it not seem to be hanging together nicely as a nice, neat issue we can say yes or no on? Because there's this major thing hanging out here, bingo, which is like for some people, major thing hanging out there, cockfighting, right?
Right.
They don't want to be bugged. They don't want to have people. You know, they don't want to have people coming and raiding their card game, you know?
Yeah, and I guess what I'm also trying to say is that, you know, how the way I'm hearing it when she says, well, the people don't want it, you know, it's more like an ethical thing. But like I said, it wasn't, I don't think, much ethical. It's about, like what you said, how are you going to regulate it, make sure everything's being done right and there's no whatever. But it's because if it's ethical, then why is bingo and cockfighting?
Yes.
Gambling, why does it even exist here?
That's right. Yeah. No, you're right. And you've heard me say before on this show, I'm big on ethics and philosophy. The basic reason why you do anything or object to anything at all. What are your values? And it's not about the ethics. It's about the money. And it's about whether we control our public servants. Are public servants, or are they the servants of the people who have the money and can buy favors and can buy decisions that put public resources into their pockets, or delegate the decisions on policies to them and not to us, the people. It's not.
In a way, I kind of like. Oh, sorry, but in the way, I kind of like the fact that there's just a little small period of having fun with gambling. Like, I'm not a gambler, but I wouldn't mind playing it once in a while. If, you know, just like a carnival comes into town and then it leaves.
Well,
so
it wouldn't. It wouldn't have been a problem when the mayors had the casino at Liberation Carnival, if the records had been kept properly. But they didn't have good regulations. They didn't know what was going on. You could go in there any time of the day or night for, I was like 45 days. It never closed. And there were people in there spending money and gambling. And they had absolutely no idea how much money was flushing through there, how much the house was keeping so that they could be taxed, how much the government was getting, you know, from the taxes. They had no idea. Even the mayors admitted they had no idea how much was going through there. They just accepted the money that was given to them from the activity. But it was an activity that was based on a law. And that's why Senator Nelson slammed it shut. She said, we're not going to do this again.
Okay, now I see.
Yeah,
sir?
I was working for her at the time. I worked for her for the first 3 months of 2017, and I had to stop to take care of my dad. I'm still doing that now, but we went through this. We examined this, and we were on absolutely solid grounds, and it was based on what the mayors themselves said about the revenues they were getting from the gambling activity. They had no idea, and they had no way to find out. They were just happy to get a check.
Right.
And they got a space to build a building. You saw the building down there by Paseo, right? By the ball field?
Yeah. The
Yeah.
one that was the one in like Barragata area, right?
No, that's they replaced that one with one at the Paseo, right outside of the first base. If you go down to Paseo now, the building is there. They built a building, and it was built in 2017 for the carnival that was going to be held down there, but it's a building. It's built on the Paseo by the permission of the Agana mayor and the mayor's council. They said, yeah, go ahead, build your building. It's a building. Who put a building on the government land?
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, they couldn't open it. The building, it just all they did was build it, and by the time, and that's when Senator Nelson's bill went through, and the bill passed, and the whole thing came to a screeching halt. You look at the building now; it's built. It's just nobody's in it. The door's not opened. It's just sitting there, catching salt from the salt air. But it is a casino ready to go.
Right.
And that's where our battle line is drawn.
Well, you cleared things up for me a little bit better, and thank you so much for that.
Well, thank you.
See certain things in a different light.
And we aim to please. That's why this show exists. Thank you very much for the call. Yes, indeed. That's why we're here. Make sure you know what's going on. Remember that thing about what I said about the 10-legged spider? Yeah, one data point. How many points of data do you need in order to know what something is? What is it? We'll be back with more Tall Tales after this short break.
Hi, welcome to this Subway ad for our all-new Ultimate Cheesy Garlic Bread. How would you like it?
I'll take a skeptical grandma.
Set in her ways?
A smidge.
Grandma, try this ultimate meatball marinara made with ultimate cheesy garlic bread. Melted mozzarella, parmesan, garlic butter spread. It's just like yours.
Like mine? My grandmother's recipe?
Try it.
My grandmother's cheesy garlic bread was never all that.
Subway, make it what you want. Limited time only at participating restaurants.
And back to it. Yeah, back to the track. I guess I should have more. I should do my show prep like I did today every day. Because I'll tell you what, I can still go for another 2 hours here. But I won't. I'll save it for tomorrow. We still have, we'll get into the stuff that makes my wife fall asleep. Taxes, debts, and an economy in slow motion. Article written for Pacific Island Times by Bruce Lloyd and Marvik Kagarangan. That's really economics is it's like a lullaby for my wife. But so maybe we'll do that tomorrow. It'll be Friday. You'll be ready to it's beginning of the weekend. You remember the whole discussion about the H-2 workers and how the governor's getting ready to go to the states, and I guess National Governors Conference is coming up real soon here, and about how Guam's numbers, its numbers are so much different than national numbers for overstays and fraud. In the PDN, Tuesday, February 5th, on page 8, is a guest column by Catherine Bejarana Camacho. She's an attorney, She's an attorney, and the I guess I don't have the whole article. I guess I just have the first part of it. But the article is called, her column is called Immigration Matters, because she works on immigration cases for individuals, families, and companies. So her article in the Tuesday PDN is called 90 Day Fiancé Reality Show Highlights Immigration Issues. It absolutely does. And she says, debuting in January 2014 on the TLC channel, 90 Day Fiancé is a reality television series that follows the trials and tribulations of various couples wherein the foreign national partner entered the United States under a K-1 visa. The K-1 visa, or fiancé visa, is a single-entry visa filed by a U.S. petitioner partner on behalf of his or her fiancé from another country. The visa allows the foreign national to enter the United States on a one-time basis so that the couple can get married within 90 days of entry to the United States. If the couple doesn't get married within 90 days, the foreign national must return to his or her home country. Failure to do so would render that foreign national to become out of status. If they get married, an application for adjustment of status must be filed on behalf of the foreign national so the foreign national can obtain a permanent resident card. Although I have only watched snippets of certain episodes of the series and acknowledge the elements of creative editing that go hand in hand with most reality series, it's interesting to watch, especially from the eyes of an immigration law attorney. Specifically, the series exposes various issues that K-1 visa holders and their U.S. petitioner face when the foreign national enters the United States. And she starts going through, what does it take, what does the U.S. look for as the normal course of things for the K-1 visa application? That these people actually know each other, and they're truly planning to become married in the full sense of the term. It's not a marriage of convenience or some other kind of a scheme, and that all the paperwork is on the up and up. So it goes through about how they must have met in person within a 2-year period prior to the petition filing. And it says here, although the couple, and this is the reality show, although the couple may have spent some time together, most of that time was dating and fun. But once they begin to reside together in the United States, the reality of living with a fiancé begins to set in. And so then the adjustment period and concerns of the parents of whether they have trust in the partner, and the age difference and expectations for their personal habits or their earning ability. A reality show that's built around immigration visa, and then you wonder, what's the big deal? Why don't you just let these people in? I'm all for immigration, orderly immigration, a national issue, and here on Guam also, a long, long time issue. Many families on Guam have been built around this visa process, and I'm very happy for them. I'm happy for us. But to many people, it is still a game to be won. The incentives are there. Well, we'll talk more about this tomorrow, 4 o'clock. I'm Darrell Taggarty, sitting in for the vacationing Bob Klitzkie. I'll be back tomorrow at 4 with more Tall Tales. And don't forget, Ray Gibson will be here tomorrow morning at 6. Have a good evening, everyone.